guys, and welcome to CJ's Drop on Life today. I got a fun one for you here today compared to the other two I did. They were kind of a little bit about different things, but this is a fun one today, and I hope you stick around for the whole thing. Tell your friends about this channel. We need more subscribers and need more views. Just getting started, so let's kick it off. Today we're gonna do one on things kids used to do back in the 70s that kids don't do today in 2025. Okay, so this is kind of a top 10 things that kids used to do back in the 1970s. If you can relate with that, comment below again and tell me your experiences. Tell me if any ones that I might have missed here on this list. But I can relate with a lot of these. I was born in '63, and 1970s I was 7, but hey, 1973 I was 10. I remember doing a lot of this stuff, and I don't see kids doing it today. But like I said, if you know of one that I didn't put down here, I know of a couple that I might come up with at the end of this video, but that I can think of off the top of my head that I don't think kids do today and they don't even know about. But let's start off with number 10. I got a list here in front of me, so if I look down a little bit, I took some notes and stuff. But number 10, hanging out at the roller rinks. How many of you remember the roller rinks? I mean, even if you're from the 80s and 90s, you remember the roller rinks. And kids used to hang out there. And roller rinks were hot. They were a social hub. I mean, you met girls there, I remember at the roller rink I used to go to in the 70s, it was such a nerve-wracking thing. The girls would stand against one wall, and the boys would skate around. And the girls, that wanted to participate, you didn't have to participate in it. But the girls would stand on one side of the wall, and the boys would roller skate around, and, you'd be all nervous. And you would go up and you would ask a girl if you wanted to skate with them. Well, you would hold hands while you were skating around in circles. And I remember a lot of sweaty palms. And, it was really kind of fun, and the girl was nervous. She didn't really talk that much. She said, hi, how you doing? And maybe after the song got done that you were skating to, you would kind of hang out. Majority of the time they'd go back to their friends. It was a real shy moment, but it was kind of a way to, to meet girls and kind of that type of thing. And, they play the old disco music from the 70s, and it was just a fun time. But man, I remember those times like they were yesterday. Seems like you go up to a girl and pick them. Sometimes they would say no. Sometimes they would say yes, and they would say yes, and you skate with them and you hold hands, and, just that sweaty palm. Their hands were sweaty. Your hands were sweaty, and it was just kind of a fun thing, And I remember those times so well. And great times there. Great memories. I don't think I ever got any girlfriends out of it. I got a lot of sweaty palms, but hey. But anyways, moving on. Number 9. Kids do not use these today, or I don't even think they know how to use one today. But using a typewriter for schoolwork. If you remember this, this was before the age of computers in everybody's homes. I didn't have a computer in our home until 1990. I think when it first came out, 1992, something like that. We had our first home computer, and I was married at that time. So, using typewriters for schoolwork. The kids of the 70s, they would type their book reports on these. If you had to do a regular hand-in book report or an oral book report to where you had to stand up in front of class and give a book report. Gosh, I used to hate doing oral book reports. I was so nervous. I hated speaking in public, speaking in front of the whole class. It was just nerve-wracking to me. It was like, and usually I was like, they would go in line, and usually I don't know if they'd go by last name or not. My last name started with an M, so it'd be like halfway through. So I had to either go up there, halfway or towards the end of all the book reports. I was just sweating bullets, waiting for my turn to come up there and do an oral book report. But kids, I don't think today, if you put a typewriter in front of them, maybe they would. Some kids have probably been taught by their parents, to use a typewriter, but it's kind of like a rotary phone. Because, you put a rotary phone in front of a kid nowadays, they're like, what's this? It's a telephone. How do you dial it? Well, you put your finger in the hole, and you turn it all the way, and then you and then you let go of it and it dials. You know, you got to dial 7 numbers that way. Well, this takes too long, you know. I mean, I did that with my grandson. But yeah, it's kind of just like rotary phones. They don't use those today either. And computers, you know, they do everything on a computer with Excel or whatnot. So, yeah, typewriters would be number 9. Number 8, physically reading comic books. So instead of going online where people have subscriptions to comic books and stuff and read them on a computer, we used to have, you know, back in the 70s and 60s, we used to have, you know, physical comic books. We'd go down to the store. I remember them being 10, 15 cents a comic book. Gosh, I wish I had those now, man. That would have been a very good investment, and it would have been awesome to have, you know, today, to have all those old comic books. I had the Supermans, the Batmans, gosh, all those old comic books. But yeah, kids number 8, do not read physical comic books today. I don't even know if their kids read comic books today. If you know, if they do, put a comment below, because I don't think my grandson does. I mean, he watches movies and stuff like that, superheroes, but as far as reading a comic book and stuff, I don't think he's ever read a comic book in his life. He's only 8 years old, but I don't think he's ever read a comic book. Maybe I'll introduce him to that. Visiting arcades in the 70s was a big thing. I remember going to the arcades and we could play, you know, back in the 70s, you know, early 70s, they didn't have the like the Pong and stuff like that. That came out, it came out in the 70s, but I think it was like 78, 79 Pong came out, where you put it on a TV set. You have the Atari and you just play tennis on the Pong, boom, 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 you know, you wait for it. It was so slow. You wonder how we even got through that. It was boring to me. I don't play video games this day. I mean, I worked in a pizza place that had an arcade above it when I was in high school. And I was in high school, and I was 16. And I was kind of like the, I don't know, I guess, put it termly, a bouncer up there, upstairs. And I was in high school, and I had to keep everybody in order and stuff. And there was just me, and it was fun, because I remember afterwards I could invite one friend up. And he'd opened up all the arcades one day a week. He opened up all the games. We could play any game we wanted to free. Pool tables, arcade games. That was back, man, that was like 79, 80, you know, that we did that. And I graduated in 82. So, you know, yeah, it was fun. So I could invite one friend up, a girl or a guy, whatever, you know, whatever I wanted to that day. And he'd open up he'd close down, be like 10 o'clock at night, close down and open up every machine there. And we played all for free one day a week. Really nice guy. All right, moving along. Number 6, recording songs off the radio. Gosh, we didn't have like we had today, man. We had to record them off the radio. I remember putting the old cassette tape in the double player, or not even a double player, just a single player tape recorder that was hooked up to the radio, or you'd have a mic hooked up to your radio, playing into the tape recorder. I think, if that's what I remember right. But I remember recording songs, and you always had a DJ that would go interrupt the song early or go late. The song would be playing, and you'd still be talking. So you'd have part of the DJ into the tape too, and the cassette player with it. How fun! That brings back a lot of memories. They taped a lot of bootleg songs off the radio. How many of you remember doing that? That was a blast. All right, yeah, I got 5 more to go here, so we're at number 5 right now. Playing with regular analog toys that were like, you know, non-computer toys like they play today. They play, you know, everything that, and if you get a toy for a kid, like my grandson or whatever, all the toys are computerized. Even the action figures that you get them, they're computerized. You know, they got stuff in them to where they talk and flash and do all that kind of thing. You know, but back then we had playing with analog toys meant like a Slinky or an Etch-a-Sketch or a Light Bright, which required no batteries or the internet. Board games like Monopoly or Operation were also big. While some of these toys persist today in 2025, kids gravitate towards digital games or on tablets, consoles, or VR sets. VR's big. My grandson's got a VR set. His mom got him. Dad got him. And he loves his VR set. He'll come over and watch me play my VR. Okay, well, we'll come watch for a little bit, you know. But, yeah, the VR sets are big. It's just so funny how things developed. You know, you watch, like, we'll get to this one in a minute. But you watch, like, comics on, you know, the cartoons on TV. I remember watching the Jetsons thinking, is this what's going to be like in the future? People flying around in spaceships and, you know, everything's up in the air, and what happens if you crash? You just go right down to the ground, you know? But now it's, you know, we still don't have flying saucers in the air. We got flying saucers in the air, I think, but I don't know if they're ours or not, but, you know, people aren't using them. So, yeah, it was different, you know. I mean, we played with a slinky on the stairs. I remember going all the way up to the top of the stairs and putting the slinky on the stair and watching it go boom, boom. You know that song, the Slinkity Slink, the song, the Slinky. I'm getting off base here, but the song, the Slinky, and you know, you sometimes make it all the way down the stairs or just crash and burn and fall all the way down the stairs, you know. All right, moving on. Number 4. Riding bicycles without helmets. Biking was a staple in the 70s childhood, often on banana seat bikes. I remember those a lot, right? Banana seat bikes, the Swin ones or whatever. Those are worth a lot of money. The Stingray bikes. Yeah, I'd like to have a couple of those right now, too. And helmets were rarely worn. Kids rode freely in neighborhoods or to friends' houses. In 2025, helmet laws, safety awareness, and parental caution mean kids are more likely to wear helmets, and biking in less central due to gaming or organized sports. So yeah, a lot of kids now. I mean, my grandson, he has a bike. He comes over our house. We got a bike for him there. He rides a bike all the time. He loves riding a bike, you know. But yeah, I remember back in the day, all of us kids, we would just ride. And this pertains to something I'm going to talk about that they don't have on this list that I remember very well. Well, it's kind of on the list. I'll mention it. It's coming up here. But yeah, riding the bikes and getting with kids and riding through a neighborhood. We have sometimes 6-7 bikes riding through a neighborhood, you know, and kids would just join us on bike rides. The neighborhood I lived in was so full of kids. I mean, it was like 3-to-1 versus parents, you know. If you couldn't find someone to play with in my neighborhood that I grew up in, you weren't looking hard enough. All right, moving on. Number 3, watching Saturday morning cartoons. Okay, kids eagerly awaited Saturday mornings for block and animated shows like Scooby-Doo or the Flintstones on network TV, often with sugary cereal in hand. Today, streaming platforms like YouTube or Netflix allow kids to watch cartoons on demand, and traditionally Saturday morning cartoon blocks have largely disappeared. Well, I know here on YouTube, my son, he likes watching some kid, my grandson likes watching some kids, they're little kids, and their parents are involved in the videos, and the parents do really fun things or funny things or games with their kids. He loves watching those. And that's totally different when I was a kid. We had, you know, cartoons. I wasn't much into cartoons, though. I was much into going outside and playing. Occasionally I'd watch, you know, like, what was that? Bullwinkle and Rocky. And you'd have that mixture of cartoons on there with Boris and Natasha and all that stuff. But, yeah, I remember that cartoon a lot. But, yeah, I wasn't much into cartoons, you know. I was outside, either riding a bike or playing with my friends, playing baseball, and that. But cartoons, yeah, kids do not do that today on TV. All right, here's one that using payphones to check in, because back in the 70s, we had no cell phones. So I remember, mainly I was at a friend's house, but I did use a payphone occasionally to call home. But usually, this is going to pertain into the other thing that I was going to talk about when we get to the end here. But we knew what time to come home. I'll just say it now, what the heck. We knew what time to come home. We were told, I don't know, just like probably you guys were, this was a big thing with you, you come home when the street light comes on. That street light comes on, you better be home. And if you weren't home, my mom had a loud voice. She would reign throughout the whole neighborhood. She'd be on the porch yelling my name. and I could hear it 2 blocks away. Oh shoot, the street light's on. Dang, I didn't see it, you know. Come running home. Where were you at? I told you when the street light comes on, you better get home here. I know, I didn't see it, you know. But yeah, that was a big one. The street light came on, you better be home because it was time to come in. So yeah, so kids checked in with pay phones, or we called from the parents' house. That was another one too. We called from the parents' house with the rotary phone that I talked about earlier. Because we didn't have the regular push button ones. They had the push button phones on the wall, but those weren't till like the 80s and stuff. Okay, number 1. We are at the end of the list now. Playing outside unsupervised for hours. Oh man, do I remember this one. This was top of the list for me from the time we woke up. We had a pool in our neighborhood, and you had in order to go to the pool, you had to have a buddy, whether it be a girl or boy. Usually 2 guys, you know, two of us boys went to the pool, but it was called the big pool. They had a big pool and a little pool. Little pool, you didn't have to have a buddy because they had supervision down there, lifeguards and everything. And they also did at the big pool too. But you have to go with a buddy, and they had what was called a buddy call. So they had this big siren. It sounded just like a, I don't know, like a bombing, like a bombing. You know, it was a crank. They crank it. I mean, loud. You could hear that siren all the way 3 blocks away, at least 3 blocks away. And when that siren went off, everybody had to get out of the pool. They had to get out, find their buddy, and they had to sit on the side of the pool with their feet in the water or whatever, and hold their buddy's hand up in the air. And they would check the pool, make sure no one was floating or whatever in trouble, and they would check the pool to make sure it was there. And they would, you know, okay, all clear, everybody back in the water. They blow the whistles, and everybody could just dive back into the water. And then about another, I don't know whether either, I think it was every half hour. I want to say it was every half hour they did the siren. And you know, every half hour you had to get out of the pool. But that was a big one. And another thing we did too, we had so many kids in our neighborhood that we would play baseball all the time. Baseball was so big. We would get a team together at least 3-4 times a week. You know, and we'd have enough kids. We had kids on a bench even waiting to get up and play, you know. That's how many kids we had. And we would go down to the park, and they had a football stadium there. And we would play baseball for hours and hours and hours. And and we would always too, we'd always imitate the players. Okay, it's Alan Trammell for the Detroit Tigers up to bat, or Lou Whitaker, or Johnny Bench, or whoever, whatever player the kid wanted to emulate, you know, back then. It was a big thing. And, you know, so many memories on a baseball field. Plus we played regular organized baseball too down at the regular thing that we got, you know, but that was a big thing. One thing I remember too, this video is going so long, it's going to be almost 20 minutes time I get done. Sorry about that. I may take up all your day here. If you're listening all the way through, I appreciate it. Thank you for staying this whole time. I really do appreciate it. And, but this last one here, and then we'll get going off here. I remember playing at nighttime, playing a game called Bloody Murder. And, I don't know if you guys remember that. It was dark at night, and it would be like a game that you'd get about 8 kids together, and you would just play Bloody Murder, and you'd have to try to capture somebody, you know, that was hiding. It was kind of like hide and seek, but it was at nighttime, and you know, you didn't. I don't think anybody had flashlights. It was just like pitch dark, and I mean, you wouldn't want to do that today with your kid. It was, I don't know, pretty dangerous today, but back then. Yeah, we used to play a lot of games like that at nighttime, you know. Red Rover, come over, those kind of games, you know. And, yeah. I seen this, and I thought about this today. I thought, I'm going to look this up and see what the most popular games were. And I can relate with pretty much all these on here, 9 out of 10 anyways. And I had a couple in mind, and I shared with you too. But if you can think of any, comment below, or you can relate with this, please comment below. I would love to hear from you guys. Man, I know people are watching. I see there's some views, but not a lot of views, but But please, if you stay to the end of this, please comment and like. It would really greatly help my channel. And I appreciate you stopping by. And I'm sorry this video took so long, and I'm glad you stayed till the end. I appreciate your support. Thank you again, and have a great day. And please, peace, everybody, okay? All right, man. Have a good day. Bye-bye.